This week, the Endurocross season wraps up in California, but would a podium finish be enough for Cody Webb to get his first? Mini-O's were in full swing over the weekend. We have some stories from the famed Winter Olympics in Gainesville, Florida. GNCC season in review, Team Hare Scrambles Championship of the World, the ATV version, and GNCC star Jordan Ashburn ventures to Japan for the JNCC, only on the Racer X Show. Hello and welcome to the Racer X Show presented by Chaparral Motorsports. I'm Greg. Thanks for joining us here on our racing highlight and news show. Now this show, we're all over the place, like Ohio, Florida, even Japan. Plus the GNCC banquet happened with some special awards. Enough of this, let's get going.
The Racer X Show with Greg White is being presented by Chaparral Motorsports. Visit Chaparral Motorsports online at chatmoto.com. And by Acherubies, soul and passion.
Last time on the Racer X Show, we had Endurocross Championship leader Cody Webb on, telling us about his run for the 2014 title. Now, a little over a week ago, when the main event for the final race of the season rolled into Ontario, California, he needed to finish 10th or better to dethrone five-time champ Cady Blazuzziak and take his first Geico AMA Endurocross Championship. Let's check out how the factory beta Stillwell performance-backed Webb finished up. When race action got going, Lucas Oil JCR Honda's Colton Hare took the $500 Next Entire Hole Shot Award, but got sideways in the first woodpile section to allow factory Red Bull KTM's Blazuzziak to take the lead. Webb made a few quick passes to end the first lap in third and seemed content to ride a consistent race. Blazuzziak held a 3 to 5 second lead at the finish line for most of the 15-lap main event. Hare had a costly mistake on lap 13 that allowed Webb to pass for second, but Webb quickly opened the door to stay clear of trouble. Then Hare got stuck in the rocks, which allowed Webb to take second for good. Hare had a few more mistakes, but held on comfortably to take the final podium spot. Blazuzziak had a scare when he hit a down rider and crashed within sight of the finish line, but he managed to get it going just ahead of Webb, who celebrated taking his first title. Taylor Roberts, who jumped over the water hole all night long, worked his way to fourth. Red Bull's Jeff Aaron took fifth. Confirmation of that point spread, Cody Webb, your national champion on that factory beta Stillwell performance-backed machine. Congratulations to Cody and his entire team. So Endurocross ran from May 2nd to November 22nd. That's a long season. But in our Supercross segment, sponsored by Acherubies, we're highlighting the tight Supercross season schedule, so you can start your travel plans now. You've got a month until the first round, which begins January 3rd in Angel Stadium in Anaheim, California. We stick around the West Coast, going to Phoenix, then back to Anaheim, up to Oakland, back down to SoCal, all back-to-back weeks. February begins in San Diego at Petco Park, then finally out of the West Coast and on to Texas, followed by back-to-back weekends at the Georgia Dome in Hotlanta. March kicks off Daytona, then some places that need some motorcycle racing that time of year. Indianapolis, Detroit, and St. Louis. When we head into April, it's back to Texas, to the new Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, all the way to MetLife Stadium just outside of New York City, and finally wrapping things up in Las Vegas on May 2nd. 17 races in 18 weeks. Now that is a schedule. Plan to go to a race or 10, take a trip and have fun. That's our Supercross segment, sponsored by Acherubies. Now to our motocross segment, sponsored by Acherubies. During the Thanksgiving week, an outdoor motocross tradition 43 years in the running is the Thor Winter Olympics presented by Pro Circuit, or more commonly known as Mini-O's. It combines Supercross and motocross events for class and overall championships, and it takes place at the infamous Gatorback Cycle Park in Gainesville, Florida. It's the last chance for the top amateurs in the world to compete in 2014 as part of the American Motocross Majors events. And with around 2,300 entries, the cream surely rises to the top. The main focus at Mini-O's are the battles in the 250A and Pro Sport and 450A and Pro Sport classes, We'll start off with some of the standouts from this year's event. The biggest has to be Darian Sinai. Coming off of a podium appearance at the Amateur All-Star Race at the Monster Energy Cup, Sinai, running the 457, won the 250 Pro Sport and 450 Pro Sport Supercross races, finishing second in 250A and fourth in 450A. In the motocross races, the Washington native would notch 2 second-place finishes, a 4th and 6th. That was enough to earn him the coveted Dunlop Silver Tire Award, the award given to the rider who accumulates the most points in Pro and A classes in both Supercross and motocross for the week. Another great performance on the weekend was from Alexander Fry. The Huntingtown, Maryland rider was battling Sinai for the Dunlop Award all weekend. The Orange Brigade racer started the week rough with a notable third in 250 Pro Sport Supercross, but it was the motocross day that saw him shine. Fry on his KTMs won 4 of 8 motos, sweeping 250 Pro Sport and 250A, winning the 450 Pro Sport and a close second in 450A classes. He'll be racing for KTM in the 2015 Supercross season. And how about Jalik Swoll? The 13-year-old from Florida won so much stuff that he took home both the Fox Bronze Boot Award for Best Overall Mini Cycle Rider and the Pro Circuit Platinum Pipe Award, given to the rider who collects the best overall score of anyone in any set of classes. And he's 13. Those wins include Mini Senior Limited, Super Mini 1 in the Supercross, and the same classes in motocross, plus both 85cc classes he entered, with a second in Mini Senior. He was only off the podium once in the 13 races he entered. Crazy. Oh, and he has 3 more years he can race those classes. Oh boy. On the women's side of things, DeLand, Florida's Hannah Hodges on the Suzuki dominated the girls 12-16 and won the women's 14+, and gave the boys a run for their money by finishing 3rd overall in the Super Mini 1 12-15 class. Go get him, Hannah. And finally, to one Fast 50 kid. Well, not anymore. If you know amateur racing, you know the name Ryder DiFrancesco. He was winning 50cc races at Loretta Lynn's at the age of 5 years old. The Bakersfield, California rider on the 199 Cobra, well, he won 3 of the 4 50cc classes he entered in both Supercross and motocross. The 9-year-old announced his quote-unquote retirement from 50s as he is now aged out. He's on to 65s, and we hear 85s are only a few weeks away. Ryder switches from Factory Cobra to Team Green moving forward. The WMX, or as some of you know it, the Women's Motocross Championship finale, was held in conjunction with this year's Thor Winter Olympics. Now, heading into the Gatorback Cycle Park, Kawasaki's Marissa Marklin was sitting 2 points behind defending champ Yamaha's Mackenzie Tricker, and 5 points ahead of Suzuki's Kylie Fosnock. Let's see how it went. In Moto 1, the top 3 in time practice, Tricker, Fosnock, and Marklin, were all up front and in that order. First on Marklin's hit list, Fosnock, an inside line pass for second. Then she caught Tricker and made what she called, quote, the nicest pass I've ever made, unquote, for the lead. She'd never look back. In Moto 2, Marklin ran in second behind Tricker, but Tricker would make a couple of mistakes, falling back to 6th, leaving Marklin in control. She led Fosnock to the line for her second win of the day and the 2014 AMA #1 plate with a strong 1-1 performance at the 8th and final round of the series. Marklin blew a motor Friday and had to get a loaner from Kawasaki, rewarding the Green Machine by sweeping the day. In the final standings, Marklin 11 over Fosnock, 12 over Tricker, who missed 2 races during the season, one for travel problems, the other due to an elbow injury. We're really looking forward to the 2015 season. Now, kicking off the 2015 calendar year of the American Motocross Majors is the Ricky Carmichael Daytona Amateur Supercross. It happens at Daytona International Speedway Sunday and Monday after the AMA Supercross, March 8th and 9th, and registration is now open. So go to racedaytona.com to sign up. The AMSOIL GNCC series presented by Maxxis wrapped up the last week of October, and we put together a quick series recap of the motorcycles. So, to refresh your memory on what a great season it was, here you go. The 2014 season landed at a new venue in Brunel, Florida, and as chance would have it, it was called the Mudmucker GNCC, named after the park, actually. In the XC1 motorcycles, the preseason chit-chat was about last season's rivals, FMF KTM duo of Caleb Russell and Charlie Mullins. However, a first-turn crash would end up collecting both riders, giving the early lead to Paul Whibley. But by lap 2, Mullins found the lead and the win As for Russell, mechanical issues kept him off the podium, as Josh Strang took that spot. The general GNCC in Georgia saw one of the sloppiest events in recent memory. After dealing with mechanical issues in Florida, Caleb Russell came from 5th place on the first lap to take the win in the muddy Georgia clay, with mud specialist Jordan Ashburn returning to the podium, Paul Whibley 3rd. Round 3 and Steel Creek in Morganton, North Carolina, where the course was wet and rutted up, enough to make it a tough race. Well, maybe not for Caleb Russell, who was absolutely on rails and came away with a dominating win. Mullins 2nd, edging out Strang for 3rd. By round 4 at Big Buck, conditions were back to normal, and that was fine with Caleb Russell. He and Charlie Mullins were close, but it'd be Russell taking the win over Mullins, while Josh Strang proved to be Mr. Consistent and snagged another podium finish in 3rd. Round 5, the Dunlop Limestone 100, and drama for early race leader Caleb Russell. A hard crash, a mangled motorcycle, and Russell could not contend for the win. So Charlie Mullins picked up the pieces and the W. Russell almost on the podium, but had to settle for 4th. Next up, Loretta Lynn's Ranch in Tennessee. Round 6, where a fierce 3-hour battle was between Russell and Mullins, with Mullins coming out on top for the 2nd time in a row. Strang again 3rd. To round 7 in Masontown, West Virginia. After back-to-back losses, Caleb Russell was on a mission, with Mullins right behind him, and Strang again on the podium. So at the halfway point, Mullins held the lead in the championship, mainly because of Russell's problems in round 1, but more ruckus was yet to come. When round 8 was done and dusted, it was Caleb Russell taking the win by a dominating 2 minutes and 42 seconds over Josh Strang in 2nd place. Jordan Ashburn with a great performance 3rd. But what about Mullins? A practice crash the week before resulting in a badly broken wrist means he couldn't race, and his chances at the title all but done. So that leads us to the Big Daddy, Snowshoe. Even without Mullins pushing, Caleb Russell pulled out a big win, but this time it was Jordan Ashburn taking 2nd place, while Andrew DeLong finally landed the podium finish he's been trying to get all season. So that wrapped up June, and we wouldn't be back until September 7th to be exact, where Caleb Russell picked up where he left off, leading each lap. In fact, at this point, with his 4-win streak going on, he's led every lap in each of those races, so 26 laps led in total. Duval was 2nd, with Aussie Strang in 3rd. At this point, Russell now has a 50-point lead. On to Mountain Ridge, where if standout star Caleb Russell won the race, he'd wrap up the championship early. 2 races early, and that's exactly what he did. Even though the first lap was led by NFAB AmPro Yamaha's Jordan Ashburn, snapping Russell's lap-led streak, but in the end it didn't matter because the win went to Russell. Ashburn 2nd, Andrew DeLong 3rd. To the penultimate round, Powerline Park in St. Clairsville, Ohio, where Russell showed up on a KTM 152 stroke, a motorcycle he'd auction off to raise money for injured racer and friend Rory Mead. And he only rode it like twice before setting off to the race. And when it all got sorted out, a tussle in the woods between Russell and Josh Strang took place, with Strang coming out on top, Russell 2nd. Which takes us to the final round 13, AMSOIL Ironman. Russell, good to his word, rolled out the KTM 150 for the final time. Underpowered, most gave him no chance at winning, including Caleb himself. With FMF KTM's Charlie Mullins back in the mix, he'd duke it out with Rockstar Energy WMR KTM's Ryan Sipes for the first 2 laps, until Russell took over and checked out. Leading the final 4 laps, Josh Strang took over the 2nd spot. Ryan Sipes holds on to 3rd. He likes Ironman. The GNCC Motorcycle Banquet was held in Morgantown, West Virginia just before Thanksgiving, with Rider of the Year honors going to who else? Caleb Russell. And my favorite award, the Badass Award. One rider nominated by fans and peers on anything that you think is badass about this person. And this year it went to Rory Mead, who continues his battle with a spinal cord injury after a crash on the last lap of the Steel Creek round of the GNCC series on March 30th, 2014. The likable New Zealander was on hand to accept the award. Since you just heard all about the GNCC series, which of course is run in the US, we'll move on to the JNCC. That's the Japanese National Cross Country Series, where last month GNCC regular Jordan Ashburn traveled to Japan for the final round of the season. And when he arrived, Yamaha had a YZ250FX waiting for him, including a couple of Yamaha engineers who created the bike. The event was held at the Jigatake Ski Resort in Nagano that presented rough and rocky terrains similar to West Virginia's AMSOIL Snowshoe GNCC, which Jordan finished runner-up, and the NFAB AmPro Yamaha rider used that mindset to his advantage as the Tennessee native put a substantial lead on his competition early on. After 11 laps and nearly 3 hours of racing, Ashburn finished over 14 minutes ahead of Japanese rider Manabu Watanabe, while multi-time JNCC champion Kenji Suzuki finished third overall. Congratulations to Jordan on the win. So last week we promised you more on the Team Hare Scrambles Championship of the World. This time we bring you video from the ATV side of things, where a GNCC ATV Pro and Pro-Am rider teamed up for the win, but not without a fight and not without some drama. With a Le Mans-style start kicking off racing, Marietta, Ohio's Braden Henthorn, riding a Polaris Predator, had the quickest legs, with Waterford, Ohio's Blake Tornes and Hubert, Ohio's Mark Notman third. At the end of lap 2, Tornes would start the third lap and try to build a lead, while the teams behind, they'd all switch. Henthorn would switch out with Adam McGill riding a 400 Suzuki, and Notman would pass the torch to Walker Fowler, who was riding a Yamaha Banshee. On lap 10, disaster would strike for leaders Tornes and Cohen. While Cohen was enjoying a 35-second lead, his engine let go. If he gets back to the impound area, the second rider can go on his own machine. With the checkered flag in sight, Fowler closed on the rear wheels of McGill, but it wasn't enough. McGill took the win. Adam McGill finished off his season with a world championship thanks to the help of Henthorn. Cohen and Tornes did make that podium. Fun stuff. Okay, on to some quick road racing news in the US. We know that the new Superbike series is Moto America. When they announced the tentative 2015 schedule, there was no Daytona 200 listed, and some thought the famed Daytona 200 was dead. But yesterday, DIS announced that it's running the Daytona 200 with ASRA sanctioning on March 14th. Now the purse for the race, $175,000. That's a 66% increase over last year's 200 purse of $105,000. 2014, well, it was 20 grand to win, but in 15, I'm betting it's going to be more than that. Now the question is, who's going to show up to race? More on that in January.
The Racer X Show with Greg White is being presented by Chaparral Motorsports. Visit Chaparral Motorsports online at chatmoto.com. And by Acharabies, Soul and Passion.
We're wrapping things up on this one. That'll do it for us for 2014. We'll be back on January 6, 2015 with Supercross highlights and more. We hope you enjoyed it. We certainly did. Check us out on all of our social media links. On Twitter and Instagram, it's @RacerXShow. On the YouTube channel, it's The Racer X Show. Like us, follow us, do all that kind of stuff. We certainly appreciate it. And you can follow me personally on Twitter. It's @GregWhite. Well, for the fine folks here at the Racer X Show presented by Chaparral Motorsports, I'm Greg. Thanks for watching. Remember, we are all racing all the time. Happy holidays. See you later.